Hello and welcome to this library workshop on do-it-yourself course reserves. This is a session designed for course instructors to show you how you can put items on course reserve and how that is a little bit different and new than it used to be just a couple of years ago. I am Anna Carlin. I am the instructional technology librarian. And I sort of help manage our course materials platform in the library. So what we're going to talk about in this session today is course reserves. How do we run our course reserve service? How can you use course reserve in your class? We are going to take a look at the library's course materials tool. The product is called Leganto, and we often refer to it as the reading list tool or the course materials tool. And then I will walk through several different examples of different types of items that you can put on physical or digital course reserves. And this new method that I'm going to show you takes a little bit of the waiting and reliance on the library off of you and gives you the opportunity to probably move a little bit quicker with some of those course reserves. So I realize that for maybe some newer instructors and faculty that course reserves isn't really something that you're familiar with, or maybe it has been used very often. Traditionally, course reserves would have been for print materials, and that would be taking something from the library's collection, a book that's in out in the general collection shelves, something you're going to use in class. So we want to put it on the reserve shelf and make sure that that item is more available because it's going to be in use more by students in a class, right? So we would take that item off the shelf in the general collection, put it behind the circulation desk, maybe put a 2-hour loan limit on it so that, when students check it out, maybe they're just reading a couple chapters, maybe they make a copy or a scan of the chapter, bring it back, and then more students can get access to that. So that would have been a lot of books, maybe a journal, if we had a print journal that you wanted them to read an article for. From DVDs or CDs, if you have an assigned film, you might put that DVD on reserve. And then sometimes we would put professor-owned items on the shelf. So things that we didn't have in the collection, but you might have that you own yourself, we can put that in reserve for students to use. So what's different now? We still have a physical reserve shelf. But we are clearly doing a lot more digitally. So the traditional reserves idea obviously became a lot less valuable, especially in the era of the COVID-19 pandemic when we weren't on campus. And so all of those physical reserves were kind of unusable. So we can still put a physical book or a DVD on reserve, but we now have digital reading lists. So we can add, if you want to put a print book on reserve, we will still put that behind the circulation desk, but we can put that location information into our new course materials list. That's digital. We now buy a lot of ebooks. So any ebooks that you might be using in a course, and we do have some that are being used as the textbook in the courses, we can put the link to those ebooks from the library's collection, put that in our digital course material list. Journal articles that we have in databases, most of those are digital. We can put those direct links in your course materials lists. You can add OER, so OpenStax textbooks or other OER or websites, YouTube videos. You can put those on your course materials lists. And then you can also add, if you've got scans of book chapters or articles or things that you have saved over the years that you use in courses, you can add those to your course materials list as well. So you have an opportunity now to bring all of these things together, both the library resources and things that you have collected in other ways. So that is the platform that we are using is called Leganto. That lets us pull together all of these different kinds of course materials, make one nice unified list that really makes it easy for you to manage and for students to see all of their readings in one place. So let's take a look at some examples. We're going to look at maybe a couple of different lists, but here is a current live example of a course materials list that we made in the library's platform, Leganto. This example really shows you somebody who uses Course Reserve sort of for Course Reserve. So these are things that book chapters that we own. Many of these examples, let's see, this first one, I believe we own a print copy of this textbook, and just this chapter, I said textbook, a print copy of this book, and the professor just wanted this chapter available on the list. So we were able to scan that chapter and add it to this citation in the list. Students can download a copy of that PDF. Ooh, there we go. They can view the PDF right here within the reading list viewer. And actually in this viewer, students can highlight, make some comments, and annotate this PDF here if that's something that's helpful to students. And there's actually a built-in, we're not really going to cover this much today, but there is a built-in class discussion feature in here. If you've ever used Perusal in a course, it's similar, not as nice to that, but where the students can highlight different things in the text and they can actually sort of see everybody else's comments in the class discussion. And so you can sort of lead a text-based discussion that way. But anyway, so this is, rather than scanning the chapter, printing or, making a copy of it, put it behind the desk where students have to come check it out and look at it. Or we used to use, secured OneDrive links to these kinds of scans, but now we can just put them in this course materials list. We can put many of them together. Here's an example of a book that we owned in the collection. It's actually an ebook online, and just the students are asked to just look at one chapter of it. So the notes in there, they can click on View Online. That takes them to, let's see, the ProQuest eBook Central database, where they can look at this book online. And this one is actually available unlimited access, so the whole class could access it at the same time. So yeah, we have a few more. This last book chapter on here, I think, might actually just be something provided by the professor, something that we did not have in the collection, but we can put that one chapter on reserve. For just some other examples of what reading lists can look like, we have, once you're in here, and I'll show you how to access the reading list in a minute. The default is it drops you into My Lists. I have 23 lists in here because I work in here quite often. If you are new to Leganto, you might not have any lists in here, or you may have some the library created for your class. We actually create reading lists every semester based on the assigned textbooks, the required textbooks from the bookstore. We get a list of those, run an automated job, and create reading lists. No, those may not be books that we have in the library, but some of them might be. And I can cover that in another session. You can also search through other people's lists here. So I know that we have quite a few items on this reading list for this course. The main textbook for this class, we do have a print copy. You can see the location information, and then we also have an ebook copy. So again, this ebook is something that we have 3 copies of this one, so 3 people can view this at the same time. And then there's some supplemental readings. So these were always things that we do have print copies up at the circulation desk, but most of these classes are taught online now. So some of these, we actually found links to the Internet Archive scanned versions of the books. But if they were just book chapters, we could scan the book chapters and put them on the list. Just to show you one more example of just how reading lists work and the different things you can put on here, I do have this demonstration list that I made. that just shows you can add YouTube videos. Those can be viewed from right within the viewer tool, or you can go directly to YouTube. You can add links to articles. You can add due dates for those assignments. We've got ebooks from our collection. This is actually an OpenStax OER open textbook that just goes to openstax.org. So that's a website, basically. PDF uploads. Again, you can actually create assignments in Canvas with those, and you can do annotations, course annotations with those. And then we have like streaming videos from the library's collection. You can add into your list. Jove is one we have for some of the laboratory sciences that has lab techniques, so you can add those in there. And then just to show you the weekly templates, you can start adding in sections and do weekly templates. Oh, and the other great thing about these reading lists is that they are can be fully integrated into Canvas. So this is just sort of shows you an image of what the reading list looks like within the frame of Canvas. All you have to do is enable the navigation item in your course. So when you go to like the course settings and you go to course navigation, there's like a whole bunch of stuff in that list that you can either add or remove from your course. This one is called reading lists. Add that item to your course, and whatever reading list you have already made, or you can create one there, will show up automatically, the one that's linked to that course. And again, I have lots of other materials on how to get all this stuff set up. We'll cover a little bit of it today, and then I'll make sure you have the links to the other information. So going back to sort of the old process, and how is this new process a little bit better? It used to be we have forms. We still have forms, but you'd fill out a form. I want to put this thing on course reserve. You need to write in, type in the name of your course, the course reference number, the semester, information about the item, title of the book, ISBN, blah, blah, blah. Either send that form in electronically or you bring it into the library. You're going to wait for us to process that. We'll send you an email, let you know that it's on. We put the book on course reserve for you. And then you tell the students, hey, that book's on reserve in the library. And that might be the last you hear about that. And students, quite honestly, when we see them here at the library, if they make it to the circulation desk and even ask, they're not really sure what they're looking for. I think a lot of those students never make it to the library to even ask for their course reserves items. So we think that this digital materials list is an improvement. The way that you'll request something for reserves now is you're going to start from that course materials list. Maybe you already have one made for you or started, or you might need to open up a new one for your course. You're going to add a new item to the list. I'm going to show you how you do that. It's just like searching the library catalog. You search the library catalog from within the list, you find what you want, you say add it to list. You don't have to type in titles or anything like that. It already adds all that information for you. Depending on the format or what that item is, some of that stuff is just going to go straight on your list. So if it's, an article from a database, that's in your list. You didn't have to ask anyone to do anything, activate, link to course, it's done. If it's an ebook, same thing. For physical books, you're going to add it to the list. You're going to tell us, you want it moved to course reserve. We're going to process that all for you on the back end. You'll get an automatic notification from the system or from us letting you know it's done. We put that item on the list for you. And then the really nice thing is now you have this list. You can put it in Canvas so students can see that. They can see exactly if it's a physical item that it's located in the library. Otherwise, they get a link to the digital item. And then you can actually see if students opened up that list, if they clicked on any of the items in there, viewed it, downloaded. So you have a little bit more knowledge about how those reserve items are being used and accessed by your students. And I think that's a plus. All right, so let's get into some of the how-tos here. First, creating a list. All right, so let's actually go to the library website. So you can access Leganto course materials lists two ways. You can access it from Canvas or the library's webpage. From the library webpage, just so you know, you don't have to get into Canvas first. You're going to go to the search menu. Yeah, that's right. And right here you have the link to course reading lists. When you click on that, if you are not already signed in to your FGCU network account, it will prompt you to log in. It does require students, staff, and faculty to log in. And then you're going to end up on the My List page. And again, you may not have anything here. You may have a handful of things if the library has created something for you. I happen to have quite a few things because I'm always testing something out in here. But if you have nothing, that's fine. What you're going to do is create a list. I'll just mention, I won't go over it here, but you can actually import your course syllabus. If you want to start with that, like maybe you've got all these things in your syllabus already. There's an AI-powered tool here that you can just drop your syllabus file, PDF, or document, Word doc in here. It does the best job it can of scanning through, and it's going to actually like pull out all of the citation information from that syllabus. I'm going to do another workshop on that too. So if you want to learn about that, look for that later. But if you want to just start from blank list, is what I was planning to do here. You just, maybe you title it the name of your class. I didn't think this one out, but it's going to be History 101, sorry. And then link to course. You, as the instructor of a or many courses, will probably only see things that you are teaching. I am a system admin here, so I think I can see all of the courses, but you're going to start typing in, if it was history, maybe it's American history, and I start typing that in, and you should see options here to link to your current course. If you know the CRN offhand, type that in. That'll bring you right there. Just make sure that you are selecting, I don't know if we have old semesters in here, but 2025-08 is the indicator for the fall semester of 2025. So that's current from this recording. So just make sure you're picking the right semester from this list. At some point, we may have a couple of different semesters available to choose from. So just look out for that. You can also, if you're not sure you want to link it to anything yet, you can leave it blank and you can do it later. So if I just want to start my list, and I'll worry about the link to course later, that's fine. Create sections. That's if you want to start doing like a weekly, if you plan to put in, your assignments for weeks 1 through 15, you can do that. You can actually tell it, hey, make me 15 weeks. And it'll just put those sections in there. So if you wanted to do that, you can. It is nice to do it if you think you're going to want it someday. That's kind of nice. Otherwise, you can just stick with the default. All right, so I made this really simple. I just created a new list with no sections in it. So that was the basic creating a list, which is step 1 of our course reserves process. Now we need to start adding items. This is how we add things to course reserve. Let's go with option number A. here we go. We're gonna start adding items to the list, right? So this is where I have all of these different types of things we can add. All right, so we want to add a print book that is owned by the library. Again, you used to have to fill out a form or email our course reserve specialist, tell them what it is, they'll go get it, process it, let you know. Now you have the opportunity to add that here. So this is the add an item button. You have a lot of different ways you can add it. But if you know we own it, this is probably the easiest way to do it. Let's find a book that we own. I'll make this about, I don't actually know what I'm going to end up with here. But let's find a book on Florida history, and we're going to make sure it's a print book. Great. Well, this is what. So you can look through the results just like you look through the library catalog. I actually got 106,000. I might want to, narrow that down if I didn't know what I was looking for. Or if I did, I want to narrow it down. You can filter results by type. But for practicing here, I see that this is a physical book available in the library. Yes, that's what I wanted to put on course reserve. I'm going to add this item to the list. Add to list. Suggestions and favorites are another part of the system. But when I go to add this, I'm going to get this pop-up question. It knows that I'm trying to put a print book into a course, and it says, hey, do you want to put this on course reserve? Which loan period do you want? Most of our course reserves are 2 hours. Maybe I don't really want it. I did this, but I don't want it moved to course reserve. It's not something the students are all going to have to access. I can select that option. I'll go ahead and show it, even though this is later on my list. Maybe I just wanted one chapter from this book. And so wouldn't it be nice to have that digitized and made available to students? I can do that request right here. You do need to know which pages you want scanned. So if you don't know that yet, try to find out. Or I'll show you a backup. But if I knew I wanted pages 15 to 30. I suppose if I really didn't know the page range and I wanted to cheat a little bit, but I know it's chapter 2, I could type that in there too. And I would hit OK. I won't do it so I don't confuse anybody today, but once you do that, we see that on the back end. In our library system, we get a notification that that's come through as a course reserves request. If it was just to move the book to the shelf, we're going to go pull it off the shelf, put it on reserve for you. We'll either send you an email at the end, or the system might send you a notification once it's actually available. And that's going to be, in the list. If you share the list with your students, they can see that right away. Hey, here's a book. It's on course reserve. At the circulation desk, I'll go to the library and it's available. And it will actually show them in the course materials list if it's checked out or not. So they can check that before they get to the library. For an ebook that we might own that you want to add to a list, let's see if in my search I found any ebooks. Apparently we don't have a lot of well, I can say book, and I can say, actually I don't know. Usually I would most people would not come in here not knowing what they wanted to put on their course reserve list. Let's just do something where I know we have more ebooks. Okay. All right, here's one. It's a book. It's online. It's from 1992, but if I add this to course reserve on my list, I hit add, and there it is. That's done. Students can access that right away. Just so you can see what the list looks like to a student. That's what it looks like. They see the resources, they see the view online link, they click on it, should be taken right to the book. Yep. So ebooks on Course Reserve, super easy. You're done. Same for articles. So let's search here. Do a Florida history search. And I will narrow it to articles. This one looks great. Or this one, I don't know. It says it's available online, it's peer reviewed, it's my favorite journal article, add it to the list. I want the students to read it. That's done. Available right now to students. They can see that in Canvas if you put it in there. Easy. If it was an article that we did not have in a database like that, when you search, you wouldn't find it in there. Technically, we cannot put items on Course Reserve that we obtained through interlibrary loan, so that's something to keep in mind. But if you have a copy of something in your possession that you would like to add to your course, you can do that through a manual entry. If I go to add something here, manual entry basically covers anything. Maybe something you couldn't find through the library or a website, you'll see that a lot. Anything you want to add to this list. So if it is a website, you'll put that in as the type. You'll give it a, title. Then you have the opportunity to add that URL in there, and you do have to add a creator name. If it was maybe you've got a PDF of an article that you always use in class, you already have a copy of it, you can add that as an article, put in the title, and you can attach a file. So that's where you can get your PDF file and add it in there. Now, when you add PDFs to these things in your course lists, that is something that the library does review. We'll see that come through. We will do a quick check to verify that it seems to fit fair use, that you haven't posted a whole digitized copy of a textbook that you're not allowed to copy, something like that. So those might take a day or two to just get approved for students to be able to see. But if you have used it before in a course and it met fair use, we should be able to turn that around pretty quickly. Let's say, okay. So we've talked about the print book, the ebook owned by the library. It's added instantly. The articles available through the library databases. Those are added instantly to your list. We just talked about personal copies of chapters or articles. You've already got the PDF file. Add that in as a manual entry item to your list. The library is going to review that and make that available. If you have a personal copy of a book, a physical book that you want to put on reserve, you can add that to the course materials list as a manual entry. Put in the title of the book and the author. And then you'll have to bring that into the library. That probably needs to be added as an option to that form so we know to expect it. But you'll bring that in. We'll process that how we need to, put a little label on it and give it a brief record, and put that behind the desk at the library. And that's something that you'll want to pick up at the end of the semester or let us know that you're going to reuse it the next time. We've already talked about this one too. If we have a print book, you want to just put one chapter on as a digital request, you'll see that option pop up, and you put in the page range or the chapter number. We'll see that. We will scan the right chapter. If we're not quite sure we're getting the right thing, we'll contact you. But you can just put those page ranges in there. We'll scan it, make it available in the list. You may want to do that with the ebooks that we own too. I think I showed an example in the Latin American history list where we had an ebook. Let's see if I can find that again. Maybe it was, Latin American politics. This is what it looks like. We have this whole ebook. You just go, you find the name of the ebook, you search for that in the add items, add it to the list. There's two ways you can do this. This is the easiest way. You just put a note on there and say, please read, this chapter, these pages. And that way the students, when they click into the book, they'll just look for those chapters. The slightly more complicated but more student-friendly way is to go in to that book. I believe it said read pages 8 through something. Or maybe it was... well, I could start with page 8. Watch this. Sorry, I'm scrolling really fast. All right, here's page 8. I can grab a link. It will bring me back to the current page of this book. I can copy it. I go back to my list and I can actually edit this item. I can add another URL in here. Ooh. Oh, actually, she already did it. She already did it. No? Hang on. Pages 8 through 80. This brought us to here. Okay. Okay, so I can go in here, I can edit this item. Paste in my URL. I can actually hide the main link to the book, the one that just goes to the main page. And now I should only get, save that. So now let me make sure, as a student, I click on the link, it takes me right to page 8. So that's a slightly more complicated but more student-friendly way to link to just a single chapter of an ebook. All right, and the last step here that I forgot to highlight is to make sure that you publish your list. If you started it new, you want to make sure you publish it and add it to your Canvas course so your students can see all of the links that you've put in there. And even for the print books that you've put on reserve, it's really helpful for students to see that in that list. And then, again, they can check and see if it's available right now. And if you have multiple things on there, it brings it all into one place. Makes it really easy for them to see. You can also reuse these lists after, year after year. So if you want to put it on reserve again next year, you just copy the list and connect it to your course, and we'll know that you want to reuse that for course reserves. Makes it really easy. So let's just make sure that from here, you know where you're going to possibly work on your own course list. So as I showed you before, if you go to the main library website, go to the search menu, you can find a link to the reading list here. Sign in, work with your existing list, or start making new ones. You can also do the same thing through Canvas if you'd like. Once you're in the course that you want to work in, you'll add that reading list. Let me show you really quick. If you want to know everything else about reading lists and course material lists, please visit our web pages on the topic. This video will show you a little bit more maybe about the features that I didn't show you today. Check out the quick start guide. This will show you how to enable the lists in Canvas, which just involves going to your settings, working with your navigation elements, enabling those and saving, and then you'll get your list linked up in Canvas. Got lots more help in here about how you can add content to your list, how to copy those over and reuse those in a new semester. A few more specific things here if you're like, hey, I forgot how to link to that specific chapter of an ebook in my list. Maybe I want to get fancy and put links to weekly sections into my Canvas course. I have a lot of entries here that'll show you some of those special questions and answers. And there's actually like a complete reading list training course for faculty available on the website as well. One other thing relevant to this topic would be our course reserves policies. We have not, check this out. We have not gotten rid of the forms or anything yet, so some of this may change, but don't go there. That's how you search for course reserves. But if you have questions about policy, please read through here. There are some copyright considerations, things we can and cannot put on reserve, what our typical loan periods are, the rules about professor-owned materials, and again, sort of some guidelines about copyright, which are good to know. There could be some times where we say, that's not something we can do on reserve, and we'll try to work through some alternatives with you. That's all we have to cover today. I hope that it's been informative and helpful, maybe giving you some ideas, not just for course reserves, but how you might use some of the course materials lists in your classes. I am Anna Carla. My email address is, we'll put that on the screen. Make sure you have my contact. So if you have any other questions about the course materials list, please feel free to reach out and ask. And keep an eye out for some other related workshops on this similar topics and course materials in the future. Thanks for joining us.